Hey folks, David Frost, my strategic forecast. You're here for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis. Today is Thursday, June 14, 2018. We're looking at a daily chart of the SPY or SPDR, which is the proxy for the S&P 500. So today we had another update on our hands. You can see how we're kind of pinned in between this 278.50 and the 280 level. The market continues to, number one, find resistance up in this zone, and number two, as you can see, it has begun to go sideways. And by now, we should all know what, generally speaking, that means. It means the market is buying time. It's eating time off the clock because it's just not ready to go higher yet. It's not able to bust through this particular zone that is really a lot of resistance, a lot of what's called overhead resistance to the market. So when the market finds overhead resistance, whether it's a stock, the SPY, a commodity, it doesn't matter. It's a chart. Whether it's 10-minute chart, a daily chart, a weekly, it makes no difference. When the market isn't able to just run right through or waltz right through a particular resistance area, what it's got to do is kind of reset itself. It's got to either go sideways, eat some time off the clock, pull back a little bit, reset, and then it can make another run for those resistance areas right up here in this zone around 278, 279, 280. There is a lot of overhead resistance in this zone. Doesn't mean we can't or won't get through this area. It just means that the market wasn't able to just waltz right through this area and continue higher as it was doing over the last, let's say, 10 or so trading sessions. And by the way, great interaction on the video last night. Great comments, great posts underneath the video. Please continue to post your comments under the video as it relates to the market, the economy, even geopolitics was a little bit last night discussed. That's fine with me. I'm happy to discuss anything under the sun, and I love when all you get interactive with each other. It's helpful to the entire community, and there are a lot of good comments that come out of these videos underneath the videos on the posts. So please continue to do so. It's helpful to the entire community. Also, please hit the like button on the video. It's helpful to me. It helps get the word out, which helps build the community. And the last item is share the video with somebody that you think can benefit from this information. There's a share button under the video. Go ahead and use it. We all know somebody that can benefit from information like this, somebody that's interested in the markets. All right, back to the chart. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at this area here. This was the last consolidation where the market found overhead resistance. So the market was going higher. We were in somewhat of a bearish trend, as you remember. We went down and we were trying to put in some higher lows. The market found resistance here, and then what did it do? It went sideways for a period of time, and in order to build energy to make the next leg higher. That's in a sense what we're doing here. We took the next leg higher. Now the market is once again building energy, getting ready for the next leg higher, which, by the way, I do believe is coming. I think there is another leg higher in this market. I'm not going to rule out testing the old highs. Of course, all that's predicated on staying above certain levels. Speaking of which, the level on the downside that's most important to me is 275.45. Don't be surprised to see the market come back to test that area. Doesn't have to hit 275.45 on the button, but as we like to say, markets like to come back and test former breakout and former breakdown areas. This isn't necessarily what I would call a bona fide breakout area, 275.45, but it is an important level to me on the chart, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the market come back and check in at 275.5, give or take. Does it have to happen? No, it doesn't have to. But if we begin to sell a little bit, if we begin to have a couple of down days, that's an area that I would find likely to be supportive of the market. Or, on the other hand, we can just go sideways for a few more days, build enough energy, eat some time off the clock, let home base or 20-period moving average come up toward price, and then we can really take the next leg higher. One of my students who's taken the courses had an interesting question. It's a good question, and it's something that I discussed in a video several days ago. The question comes from Jim. Jim is a gentleman. Jim has learned a lot and has really made great progress in terms of reading the markets. So Jim's question is about recapture. I used the term recapture a couple of weeks ago, and it really came where the market was going sideways and we dipped below. In this candle here, we dipped below the 100 period moving average, and it looked like, the market looked like it was really breaking down, breaking this bullish pattern that was existing. So we had an up move, and then we were going sideways, preparing, building energy for another up move. And we had that one-day wonder where the market dipped back down below and closed below the 100 period and even 20 period moving average. And that put into question whether or not we were going to see any more downside in the market. Was that bullish pattern going to play out to the upside? What was really going on? The following day, as you can see, the market popped back up above the 100 period moving average, put the bullish pattern back on the table, and we can all see what happened from that point forward. So Jim's question is, can you explain a little bit about recapture? Now, I have to be clear about this. This is not a technical term. You're not going to find this in books or on blogs or other technical analysts call anything that you see on the charts recapture. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm not saying I made up the term. What I'm saying is I use the term just to depict exactly what happened. And let me explain why I felt that was bullish for the market. We dipped below the 100 period moving average after consolidating above it for several days. That's the market's way of telling us that it's building energy to go higher. However, it looked like we were breaking down, and it turned out to be a one-day wonder. When we recaptured or popped back up above the 100 period moving average on a really strong move, that strong move occurred on the 30th of May right here. So that was a very strong move following dipping below the 100 period moving average. To me, the way I read that scenario is, it's the market's way of saying, hey, that was just a one-day wonder. There's really nothing wrong technically with the market. The market remains bullish. And it meaning the market, essentially straightened itself out. So when that took place, I look at that price action in this particular case, popping back above the 100 on the 30th of May, I look at that price action as extremely bullish, not only because we got back above and closed above the 100 period and put back in force this bullish pattern that was going sideways for a while, but it did it on a relatively large up day. To me, that was bullish. It was somewhat of extra bullish behavior, and that's why I call it a recapture. We recaptured the bullish pattern. And as it turned out, the bullish pattern worked out and we took another leg higher in the market. It's similar to, for example, a failed breakout. So let's deviate for a second and let me go to the IWM real quick. So in the IWM, we broke out to new highs. So let's just pick an area. Let's pick this right here. So right here, we made a new closing high in the IWM. To me, that's a shot across the bow that higher prices are coming. But what happens in the event that the following day, the market went down and closed back below the former highs in the IWM? That would have been potentially a failed breakout and promoted or produced more downside in the market. But what happened if, let's just say for argument's sake, the next day after the IWM closed at a new closing high, it broke down, it came down below the former high, and then it went back up. That's also similar in nature to what I'm calling a recapture. So it's not a technical term, it's my term, but I wanted to do this analysis or at least the explanation, namely for Jim, but anybody else who might have a question mark or might be able to learn or glean something from that information. All right, so let's wrap up the daily chart of the spider. Net is, right now we're going sideways. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised to see the market have a couple of down days, whether it's tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, something like that. It doesn't have to happen, but if it does happen, and I'm not suggesting shorting the market, what I'm suggesting is if the market does come down and it comes down and is supported something north of the 275.45 area, that could potentially be a buying opportunity because I do think there are higher prices coming. I won't be surprised if in fact this summer we do challenge the old highs, or at least close to or near the old highs. On the flip side, if we begin closing below 275.45, begin challenging the moving averages, closing below there, that's an entirely different case altogether. I don't expect that to happen right now, but we just need to be aware and prepared. The first warning sign would be a close below 275.45. That would not be good. It would not be positive for the market. A pullback to that area, normal garden variety market behavior. Let's take a look at the hourly chart of the spider. And what we have here is, as you can see, we're trading above the 278.50 level, but on a micro scale, on a short-term basis, we have the makings of a bearish pattern. Now, this doesn't mean there's going to be a tremendous amount of downside as a result of this bearish pattern, but nevertheless, it is a bearish pattern. What takes this off the table? An hourly close above 279.14. This is something that's right out of the course at lazyeMinitrader.com. So anybody that would be or is willing to or wants to play the short side of the market, that's where you know you're wrong. If you get an hourly close above 279.14, that short trade would be off the table in this case. Let's talk about a trade just for a second. So let's just say, for argument's sake, a trader was short based on that information. Where would be the target on the downside? How do you know when to take profit? Well, there's a lot of formulas based on what the chart is doing, what the pattern is telling us. In the course, I go over a lot of different ways that we figure resistance and support areas, but just based on this chart right here, right now, the natural area you would be looking to take profit, and it wouldn't have to be the total position off. You could, of course, but you have to take some profit somewhere in the vicinity of 278, between 278, maybe 277.80, in that neighborhood. So what you have here is you have a pivot low, and you also have a 50-period moving average. So right in here is where this pattern will likely play out, if it does play out. So let's say we have another candle, and the candle goes down, and that really completes this bearish pattern. It completes it down to 278, 277.80 to 277.90, in that general zone. Why do you have to take profit there? Well, there's a number of reasons. A, you want to put money in your pocket, but B, the market would likely get some kind of a bounce off that level, because this is what's called, at least in my mind, an important pivot low. This low is the market's way, at least on this hourly chart right here, right now, that's the market's way of telling you that that price level is important. It stopped there before, and it will likely be supported there again. And if you take some of the profit off the table and the market continues lower, that's fine. That's to your benefit. But if you take profit and the market turns around and that's all she's going to do on the downside, then you've at least booked some profit, and you can protect the rest by having what I like to do is a break even or in the money stop. So in this case, in this hypothetical example, and it is a hypothetical example, I wouldn't let any remainder of a position go against me, and I like to guarantee myself at least some profit. Here's a 10-minute chart, and the reason I bring the 10-minute chart up tonight is because I want to point something out very interesting. In the course, I teach traders why time is more important than price. And it's not just because I say it is, but we show why time is more important than price and how to take advantage of it. And if you just take a look at today's activity, and today really started here, okay, here's the cutoff. Everything to the right of that black line is today's activity. There. Had to move the line over to the left a little bit, drew it in the wrong place. Everything to the right is today's activity. And what traders that have taken the course will note is every single pivot high to every single pivot low trended for a specific period of time as the market really trended in between. There was really a channel today. It was almost in between the 278 level and these moving averages, or the 100-period moving average. But what's interesting is, from a trader's perspective, If you understand time and you understand where the likely level of support or resistance is, at least where the probabilities say it is, then there were trades in here today, speaking specifically about the spider. And we can find these on plenty of stocks, find them on hourly charts, find them on 10-minute charts, find them on daily charts. We find them over and over and over again because, as we know, all markets act and react the same way. Not necessarily markets, but all charts act and react the same way. 10-minute, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and so on. It doesn't make any difference. If you know what you're looking for, you'll find on the chart where a particular market is telling you it's a buy because of support or a potential sell because of resistance. Looking over at the IWM, here's the daily chart, and what do we have here today? We have another new closing high in the IWM. My favorite market leading indicator. There's nothing wrong with this chart. Obviously, it's in an uptrend. It's bullish. We continue to make new highs. Even if we pull back for a couple of days, you can see that we are a little bit extended from home base. The 20-period moving average is home base. So there's plenty of white space in here to just have a day or two or so of some downside activity. That would be normal, common market behavior. There's nothing wrong with a down day in the market. Every day the market doesn't go up. Every day the IWM isn't going to go up. It went down yesterday. Today right back up. This is a very bullish tape right now. There'll be a surprise or two along the way. We'll wake up one morning and the market will be down because of some news event, some nonsense, whatever it is. Doesn't make any difference. But technically speaking, there's a lot of white space before any trouble comes to the IWM. This is bullish, and it's telling us that higher prices across markets are coming. I can't say much more about the IWM. It's just bullish. There's no two ways about it. Now, just because I said it's bullish, I'm not suggesting buy the IWM up here. I mean, look, over the last couple of weeks, we came from 160 all the way to 167, almost 168. You know, that's a lot of points in a very short period of time. So I, for one, am not a proponent of buying high and selling higher. That's not really the prudent thing to do. It might work, but it's just not something that over time has a high probability of success. Would I buy a pullback? Yeah, I would, but I have a very difficult time buying high and selling higher. It's just not something that I'm programmed to do. It's just not in my DNA. Take a look at the VIX tonight. I don't remember whether we talked about it last night or not. I don't seem to remember that we did, but here's what we have. Yesterday we had a pretty good up day in the VIX, and today we're right back down. The reality is, and it's pretty clear, cut and dry, we're below all the moving averages. We've had a down move. We're consolidating in a bearish formation. What that does is it takes the $11.40 area that we hit a few days ago. It takes that, and we have to really lower the bar. The longer we consolidate over that level, the more likely we are to trade through that level. If the market's going to go higher, the VIX is going to go lower. As long as we continue to trend the way we are in the VIX, we're likely to go lower. This is a bearish pattern. As long as we stay beneath all the moving averages, there's a lot of overhead resistance on the VIX, and likely is lower prices ahead. The transports, they didn't really do much today. The transports were up 6 points, but that's really just a rounding error. We had a little bit of a down day yesterday. Again, we're above the moving averages. Technically speaking, nothing wrong with this market. You know that I'm going to draw in the top of the channel. Here it comes. We're above the top of the channel. We're above all the moving averages. All we're doing is eating time off the clock, letting home base come up to price. Higher prices are coming, but we certainly can have a little bit of choppy action or choppy behavior along the way. We're certainly going to have some down days. We can't be up every single day. And that goes for any chart we look at, any market we look at. It's just not a realistic viewpoint. But right now on the daily chart, this is certainly in an uptrend. And by the way, back to the recapture conversation. So let's take a look at this. So here's the top of the channel. So let's just say, Jim, let's say we got back below the top of this channel. Here's the channel I'm talking about, and we traded in this channel for quite some time. Let's say the transports did come back down and they came down beneath the top end of this channel and we found them trading somewhere in here. that would be a recapture inside of that channel. And that's all I'm saying about recapture. Look at the tech space. We are at new highs once again in the technology space. The triple Qs continue to power forward. Anything wrong with this market? Absolutely not. Are we overbought on a short-term basis? Yes, we probably are. However, as we know, markets can stay overbought for a lot longer than people think. They can stay overbought a lot longer than people trying to short the market can typically stay solvent for. Eventually, we'll have to pull back. 20-period moving average, we're getting a little bit far away from that. Likely story is at some point we're going to have to come back down toward home base, or we're going to go sideways and let home base catch up to price. Not much else to say about the Qs. We just continue to power forward. Last night we looked at some of the names, some of the companies that make up the triple Qs and the hedge fund darlings. We looked at Apple, we looked at Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, Google, Baidu, Alibaba, and guess what? They're all monsters and they were all up today. Amazon was up about $20, Facebook up 4, Netflix up almost 14, Google up over $15, Baidu up slightly, not much, Alibaba up almost $5. So these stocks continue to power forward in the tech space. As long as that continues, they're going to help pull the rest of the market up with it. However, here's the XLF, potential canary in the coal mine. Remember, we came back to rally up back to the 100-period moving average, and all of a sudden, the last few days, we're now trading back away from it. Again, and I say this all the time, without the financials participating, it's unlikely that we're going to see another big leg higher in the market. We have to have the financials participate. It's somewhat of a quandary. We have a sell-off again. The last 4 days are down in the XLF. So it is somewhat of a divergence, and maybe it's just telling us that we're going to have a little bit of a pullback across the markets over the next couple of days, or at some point within the next couple of days, I should say. We know about the weekly chart, and just for visual sake, here's the weekly chart, and we can see that the overhead resistance, the 20-period moving average, the 20-week moving average, you can see where it's acting as overhead resistance for the XLF. And as we know, until and unless we can get above on a weekly chart closing basis above that level, then this is a bearish pattern that will likely play out to the downside. So we do have some divergences out here. I don't want to make everybody believe that I believe everything is rosy and we're just going to continue up every single day to new all-time highs in all the markets. We are going to eventually get a pullback in these markets, and the XLF may be the canary in the coal mine. The XLF is not telling us what the other markets are telling us right now. So we're either going to get a rotation into financials and the XLF is going to catch up, the financial sector will catch up, or it's a canary telling us that we're going to get somewhat of a correction. And when I use the term correction, I'm not talking about 5 or 10% right here, right now, but I'm talking about a couple of down days in the market. Enough to where the media believes the world is ending. And if the Dow is down 200 points or the S&P is down 20 points, that's enough for the media to say that the rally is over and the correction is starting. You know the way the media is just going to sensationalize whatever is happening on that particular day. Now, before we move on, here's back on the daily chart of the XLF. I want to show you something kind of interesting. Here's a decent size up day from the 6th of June, okay? So just the other day, last week, the 6th of June, we had a nice healthy up day. The bottom of that candle comes in at $27.58. Now, we came down today to challenge that, even came below that intraday, but look where we closed. We closed at $27.59. You can see it over here on the right, and if I bring this up, you can see the closing price, $27.59. We closed 1 penny above the low of that big up candle. Does anybody think that's an accident or a coincidence? No, well, it's not a coincidence. So what that's telling me is that is, at least from today's activity, today's close, that's not necessarily bearish. The chart doesn't look great, but the close wasn't necessarily bearish. Not to say we won't go down, but if we closed below that low, that would be more bearish than closing above that low. That's really what I'm trying to say. It's still not a great looking chart any way you look at it. Gold, nothing new in gold. You see the gold market tried to rally today. We got up to a high of 1313. We talked about some of these numbers. Gold is likely to come and try and challenge the top end of this breakdown candle. You have some moving averages that'll provide overhead resistance. So you have, again, I talk about this each and every night, but conflicting information. You have a bullish pattern inside of a bearish pattern, and when that happens, the best thing to do is nothing. And as such, we'll just move it along. Crude oil. So we continue to grind higher in crude oil. We talked about this. We talked about 67 being resistance. Where are we now? 67, pretty much on the button. Under normal market conditions, we're going to see crude make an attempt to get to this convergence of the 20 and the 50 period moving average. That's about $1 higher. Don't be surprised to see crude at some point in time. Could happen overnight in the electronic session. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's at some point next week. But we're certainly going to make a run for the convergence of those moving averages. What I will tell you is, I still believe from a longer term perspective that we're still in an uptrend in crude oil. Here's the hot zone. I had some questions yesterday about where is that hot zone. Here's the hot zone. I think crude oil is eventually going to get up into this hot zone, at which point we will be looking for signals and signs of a trend change. But we're a long way away from there now, so it's nothing we need to really worry about. But what you can see here is we're still really in an uptrend. If I draw this trend line, it's just a rough trend line, but you can see here that we're still in an uptrend. This really hasn't been broken. If we break, and this is a weekly chart, so if we break this trend line on a weekly basis and we start trading below, closing below this level, this trend line, that's a whole different story altogether. But you can see that this trend held, and maybe this was just a reset and higher prices are coming. That's what I think. I think higher prices are coming in crude oil. And folks, with that, it's everything that I wanted to and intended to discuss tonight, so we'll give it a wrap. I'm David Frost, my strategic forecast. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Common Sense Market Analysis.